Hi guys, hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to Talkinsen. Talkinsen meaning talking sense, where we talk sense into religious, social, spiritual, and give life advice, as well as do some fun videos, okay, as well as cooking videos. If you want to know more about my channel, please head on over to the channel page and find out more about the videos that I do. I believe you find something that you would want to watch and you would like. Okay, so don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. It's called Talkinsen. So in this channel, we give advice that sustains. Okay, so this video is no different. This video is an advice and educational video. So if you can bear patiently to listen, you would learn something and you take something home and you take something that you can utilize for yourself and also share to others who may find this very helpful. So on that note, welcome to my channel. Welcome to Talkinsen. It's me, Ogechi. Welcome. Okay, so as I mentioned, for this video is more of an educational and advice video, and what topic we are focusing on is on anxiety. My first video in this year, I mentioned about my experience of anxiety, and I narrated a little bit of my experience and the things I felt that caused it and the symptoms and other things that I felt. So I've always wanted to delve a bit deeper into it to explain the different causes of anxiety. And I thought this is a very great opportunity to do so because this month, one of the week of this month, I can't remember, it was last week, I believe, we celebrated Mental Health Awareness Week. So what a great way to end the month with educating you more about this issue. And also perhaps you may find something that you did not know and something that you already know to help you or someone else in understanding more about this issue and knowing how to overcome. Today, we're not focusing on how to overcome, to be precise. I am just raising awareness in terms of advising and educating on the different causes of mental health issue relating to anxiety. And for this video, I'm only focusing on 4 causes and I'm focusing on the physical causes. There is also the spiritual causes which do not get the high limelight, and sometime in the future I will do that video, and I believe it will really be eye-opening and helpful for some people, because when you've done everything, you've checked everywhere, you're still feeling this issue. What is it? You've done everything, there is nothing physically you feel like can cause this, but that issue is still there and it's getting worse. Where do you go for help? How do you seek more understanding apart from what the internet or your psychologist or your counselor or whatever tells you? What else can you do? That's where you seek for God. So as I mentioned, my channel is about religious, and I'm looking at Christian based religious beliefs. So in the future I will do that, but in this video I will just focus on the physical causes, and I'm focusing on the 4 aspects, which are the brain function and brain chemistry. I'm looking at the lifestyle that we live. I'm also looking at negative life experiences, focusing mostly or focusing particularly on childhood trauma, and then also looking at mental and physical health issues which can lead to anxiety. So if that sounds good to you, continue listening and pay attention. And if you have any thoughts or you want to educate or add anything, please use the comment section below and just put your comments below or just add anything that you wish to add. Also, don't forget to follow me on my social media handles. My Instagram is Talkinsen, and also if you go to Twitter, I'm still there. I'm also there. Okay, so just look at the link below and you'll find out more. Okay, so let's go. So the first cause I'm going to focus on is the physical aspect which I'm focusing on, and that is the brain function and brain chemistry. So one of the things I want you to take from this video before I continue is that to know that none of these are conclusive. That means there is no particular thing that causes anxiety, because anxiety can be caused by many things, but there are some research have shown leading causes or shown stronger correlation or shown stronger whatever to say that this is the driving force to anxiety. So let's focus on the brain chemistry and brain function. So there are different explanations to this in this area as well. And as I mentioned, the research are inconclusive as the findings in itself are inconclusive on what is the leading cause of anxiety. However, let's take an example. Environmental experiences or life experience like accident that affects the brain area can also lead to brain chemistry imbalance and also distort the brain activity. And this distortion can also cause anxiety, especially if it affects the emotional area of the brain or emotional centers of the brain. And one of the areas of emotions where, or one of the areas that regulate emotions in our brain anatomy is the hippocampus. And the hippocampus contains several subregions, okay, including the hippocampal. And as a brain anatomy, it is located as the medial temporal lobe of the limbic system. And it is so important, and it plays an important role in regulating not just our emotions, but also in motivation and learning and memory, most especially. Research have shown that if implicated negatively, if I'm flicking around, sorry, I'm just looking through my notes. If it implicated negatively, it can affect our ability to regulate our emotional sensitivity and resilience, and thus leading to either mood issues and anxiety disorders. Additionally, it is said to be essential in helping process contextual fear information. So this is the hippocampus area. Another part of the brain that helps in regulating our emotion is the amygdala. The amygdala is primarily known for its emotional regulations and in processing, and these emotions include fear and threatening stimuli, and helps us in initiating the appropriate behavioral responses to these emotions. So, if they are implicated, you can imagine that it would affect the ability to do so appropriately, and then it can also lead to increase of anxiety, as it plays essential role in managing emotions in our body or in our brain. Therefore, if one of these areas of the brain is not functioning properly or is underdeveloped or perhaps is not regulated properly in terms of its processing, then it can lead to anxious promoting emotions and just general emotional imbalance. There are other factors, apart from these two I mentioned, that can also cause anxiety or affect our emotions negatively and lead to developing of anxious thought or anxiety disorder, especially those that are clinically diagnosed. Some of these include predisposed genetical factors, hormonal imbalance, and issues with the neurotransmitters in our brain and other things that comes into these areas. So, like others, there is no conclusive evidence in this area to say that this is exactly what causes this thing. So, hence why it's important that we look at other areas and other aspects of our lives that can lead to anxiety. And then on this one, I'm focusing the second key point or the second key area I'm focusing is the lifestyle. So, lifestyle is things that you do on your daily life or in your daily life that helps shape who you are. This could be the activities that you do, the habits, the food, the attitudes, the financial um, decisions you take, the economic, moral standards you choose to adopt, and all these things helps to form life for you, and you can adopt these things out of either life necessity, out of leisure, entertainment, or simply self-care. So you would be aware that what you expose yourself to, your brain internalizes, and just like a soap, so a soap to liquid soap to a sponge, it soaks it in. Okay, and if you're not careful on knowing how to squeeze it out again, it stays there for longer. Even if you squeeze it out, think about soap and sponge. Okay, or foam to say it doesn't always squeeze all out. But anyways, let's focus on the topic on today of the day. So in terms of the TV programs, music, videos, and movies, social media, and other forms of life interactions that you have, whether in your daily life with people or virtually, knows that these things affect you. And if those things are promoting in any way fear or anxious thoughts, it is likely that you internalized it. And because you've internalized it, at some point your body will start to release those things that you internalize, because it starts being manifested in one way or the other. It could be manifested in behavior, it could be manifested in thoughts or words. It could be manifested in various ways, emotions, and then lead to anxious thoughts. So consciously or unconsciously, we internalize things, and consciously or unconsciously, or knowingly or unknowingly, we manifest them, or it gets projected out of us. So hence why we need to be careful of these things, because then those things also leads to anxiety um, in people. Another thing is, research has also shown that the type of food we consume contributes or promotes anxious thoughts in our brain or in our mind. And some of the obvious food include sugary food, caffeine, and processed food, as well as fried food and other food additives that are added in food. And one of the key things that you need to take from here is that in these cases, it's often the amount of consumption, not just in the portion of food, but also in terms of how often you eat those things, and also the way they are cooked, the nutritional values, the ingredients that are used in cooking them. So all these things, if you're not careful on how you eat, especially if you're not the type that cooked your own food, do note that some of these ingredients can promote different emotions, and one of them becoming anxiety. So the nutritional values then do matter, and also what you eat matters. And also note that things like fried food or processed food do take longer to digest compared to home cooked food or proper cooked food, or plant-based food. So you can imagine the amount of time it takes your body to do so and to digest it properly, and all those things do come into effect when it comes to um, things that promote anxiety or could cause anxiety. Also note that the tea, coffee, energy drinks, and everything that you eat that or drink that sorry anything that you drink that has caffeine in it, for example, can promote anxiety, although it gives you the boost that you need to feel ready for the day or feel awake or for whatever reason pleasure that you gain from it. Note that if you become addictive to it or become dependent on them for the purposes that you I just mentioned, it can lead to heart palpitation, shaking, irritability, insomnia, headache, anxiety of emotions, especially when one is trying to withdraw from this. And speaking from experience, once you try to say no and start to reduce or cut down the amount that you take or stop altogether, this effects comes back in a way of anxiety, because now your body is trying to adjust to this new behavior, and your emotions is also trying to adjust, because you are no longer feeding it this particular thing, or let's say coffee, just to feel like awake. You had to learn to do it itself. So in itself can also promote anxiety behavior, anxious thoughts, or things of that nature. So speaking of dependency, research in psychiatry has also shown that anxiety and substance misuse co-occur, and they found that anxiety disorder and panic disorder are highly correlated, are related to substance misuse. And that's because you already know, if someone misuses substances like drug or alcohol, because of those things and what they contain and the ingredient that is used or that are used in them, it does promote those anxiety behavior, especially also when one is withdrawing. Because for some people, they will say that, oh, taking some sort of illegal drug or even some of drug or alcohol helps you calm down or do anything, but forgetting that one must learn to regulate emotions on their own without having to use an external source to do so. So when one is trying to retrace his or her steps or trying to cut down or withdraw from those things, it actually has the opposite effect from the calmness that you felt when you were using it. It can actually have the opposite effect of leading to anxiety and other forms of issues, including um, mental health issues like um, psychosis or anything like that. So, as well as anxiety, behavior, and depression. So, do note those things that it does, all of those things are all contributing factors. The next one we're going to look at is life experiences, negative life experiences, and focusing on trauma, and particularly childhood trauma. The purpose for focusing on this is because, based on my work experience and what I've noticed, is that that's working with people in generally. I've noticed that where these issues are not addressed or discussed or recognized, it does affect adults in their life and also young adults. So childhood trauma, what it is defined as a form of physical, emotional ill treatment, sexual abuse, neglect or negligent treatment, or commercial or other exploitative or harmful behaviors to a child's health, survival, development, dignity in the context of relationship or responsibility, trust, or power. That is a mouthful. So basically, what it's just saying is that childhood trauma are any of the negative experiences that you have. And please note that trauma can be one off thing, but it can also be long term. So it really does depend on the degree and the amount of exposure one had to it, and which leads to the amount of effect or impact that it has on a person. So basically, the negative experiences that a child is exposed to as a child that affects their development and their ability to thrive or survive a healthy way, which again also affects their ability to trust or form a possible relationship, positive or a healthy relationship. Childhood trauma (CT) as an issue or short abbreviation is when someone is exposed to it. Is they say is associated with three times four, like those people are 4 to 3 times likely to develop anxiety. I'll repeat it again, sorry. When CT happens to a child, when a child or someone experiences childhood trauma, they are 3 to 4 times likely to develop anxiety and depression and other forms of physical health issues like cancer. It also says that through its effect on attachment as a form of biological cause and neurodevelopmental stress regulator, it indirectly shows itself as a form of insecure attachment. And that's because a proper form of attachment was not formed. So it could be insecure, it could be ambivalent form of attachment because of that issues of early negative life experiences, which then affects the way one interacts with their environment and people in it, and also with themselves, the same, or with him or herself. So examples of things that can lead to trauma could include abandonment as a child, feeling unsupported, feeling ashamed or being made to feel ashamed, trapped or feeling trapped, constantly being undervalued or undermined, feeling under threat or having to feel like you have to protect yourself often, feeling rejected, feeling lonely, also feeling lack of validation. So there are a lot of things that leads to that issue, if you notice. Another thing that we're going to look at is mental and physical health issues. Now, with this one, it's quite a bit tricky because anxiety in itself is a form of mental health issue. So the question comes then, like, what causes that mental health issue? There could be a lot of things, really. One could be experiencing depression and then it leads to anxiety. One could be experiencing anxiety and then it leads to depression. One could be experiencing physical health issues, especially long-term physical health issues that are challenging. Take it for example, cancer, which can lead someone to become depressed or lead someone to become anxious about their future, about their lives and other things. So anxiety in when it comes to mental and physical health issues is often found in those with long-term issues in this area, as I mentioned, and most of the common issues that are found in them is depression as well. The relationship between anxiety and physical or mental health issue is casual because it's a two-way thing. So it's almost like a chicken and egg situation. Which one caused what? Which one led to what? Okay. So it's important to focus on causes of these things and the relationship of these things so that one can be able to derive what is actually the leading cause and then find a way to address or treat the issue itself, because it could be the one of the good ways to know what causes what is if the physical health issues goes, if and then the anxiety goes, then it can help tell that it is actually the physical health issues that is leading the anxiety. Or if the anxiety goes and the physical health issues start improving, I don't know, or someone start looking at things from a different perspective, then it can show another relationship or correlationship. So let's say for example there is the COVID that happened. Many people suffered from it because of the lockdown. People had to change their lifestyle. They had to be indoors a whole lot, and especially for those who are extrovert and those that like socializing, it really affected them the most because then that ability to interact face to face with people became difficult or next to impossible. And then there are also other worries that you had to face, which include people dying, include people things just happening around you, okay, whether you hear them or whether you see them or it happens to you. And then some people contracting ish- um the COVID-19 itself. So that in itself is a really good example of where a physical health issues can lead to anxiety, okay, because there was no anxiety before, but then this event happened, which then led to many people to feel isolated, anxious, especially when it was lifted, the lockdown was lifted. Some people already developed social anxiety issues. Therefore, it then helps to know that the correlation in this situation is that the lockdown in itself is or the COVID-19 itself was the direct correlation to this person developing anxiety at this particular moment of time. Remember, with anxiety comes and goes in different times in people's lives. And I always say no one can say they haven't experienced a form of mental health issue or anxiety, to be precise. The only difference could be the degree that you experienced it, what the cause was. Was it something that could be solved quickly, or was it something that couldn't be? And how did you handle it? There are just so many factors when it comes to anxiety to think about and speak about. Also know that there are some predispositions to anxiety which comes from a genetic perspective, where it's almost like runs in the blood or runs in the gene, that this one experienced anxiety, was diagnosed, and then it transferred to someone else, and it transferred to someone else. There is that argument, but note that again, there is no conclusive evidence to support this. Okay, so for that purpose, I come to the conclusion of this educational video on anxiety. If you liked what you hear, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And again, one thing I would advise and also would suggest is that for one to know what they are experiencing in terms of anxiety, it's really good to reflect in your own life, understand what is going on, as anxiety in itself is not always physical, it's not always psychological, it can be spiritually linked as well. And in another video, once I finish praying about it and do my research, I'll bring that information to your knowledge. Okay, so on that note, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and leave your comments below. And also, if you want to support my channel, please, there is a scroll at the where it says like, dislike, and other things there. If you scroll a little bit to the right, you see where it says thanks. Just click on that thanks and do the support that you want to give to my channel so I can continue growing and also bringing you such good videos like this or educational videos. Okay, thank you for listening and thank you for watching and taking your time to listen. Take care. Signing off, Talkinsen.